Joining us from the planetaria, the museums, the theaters across the country, and a fresh hello to those of you who have just come online, live via cosmosontv.com, live stream, the Academy of Television Arts and Sciences website, and our other online partners. I was keeping track, and Cosmos Live was trending during the presentation, so that's very exciting. And now we've got all these new people. We don't need Ellen DeGeneres or Meryl Streep. We can break Twitter if we all work together. For those of you who weren't with us earlier, I'm Joe Early from Fox. I am your host this evening, and we are coming to you live from the Cosmos Pavilion at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles. Now, before we start with the Q&A, for those people who have just come online to join us, we are going to take one more quick look at Cosmos. Enjoy.
This is the cosmos on the grandest scale we know. A network of 100 billion galaxies. The origin of life is one of the greatest unsolved mysteries of science. Come with me. Our journey is just beginning. We have only just opened our eyes.
Cosmos premieres Sunday at 9 on these Fox and National Geographic networks.
That was just a taste of what Cosmos delivers. Rich, epic storytelling combined with stunning, jaw-dropping visuals. It is a truly meaningful project about space, nature, life, and humanity, and we are all so proud to be a part of this incredible project. We have a great night ahead of us, so we're going to get started. And if you're going to help me welcome out our amazing Cosmos team. First, we have world-renowned astrophysicist and author, recipient of the NASA Distinguished Public Service Medal, and director of the Hayden Planetarium, our incredible host, Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson.
Thank you. Hello. Do I sit here? Okay.
There's nothing like hosting next to the host. Next up, an award-winning writer, producer, and best-selling author who has dedicated her life to the cosmos and even has an asteroid named after her. Please welcome back our brilliant writer, executive producer, director, Annie Dreehan.
Excuse me, I got her first.
Next up, a genius. We could just say genius, really. Writer, director, actor, singer, host, philanthropist, and self-proclaimed science buff, Cosmos executive producer, Mr. Seth MacFarlane. Next up is Cosmos studio president and executive producer who partnered with Annie 7 years ago to bring a new Cosmos to worldwide television, Mitchell Canold. Next up is Emmy Award nominated director and our executive producer and director of Cosmos, Brandon Braga. And finally, our show's tireless co-EP, the man on the ground who helped keep all of the stars aligned, Jason Clark. Okay, so if you are watching online and you would like to submit a question, please just tweet it with the hashtag CosmosLive. That will also help us trend again. But we're going to jump right in and actually kick things off with a question from Facebook. It's a fan named Edward Flick. And here is his question. What knowledge are you most excited to bring to the public in an easily digestible form, such as Cosmos? So let's, first it assumes it is easily digestible, but what are you most excited to bring to the public in this form?
Yeah, that question presupposes that Cosmos is a delivery vehicle for science knowledge. While we do some of that, I don't think that's what's most memorable about it. So if you ask, what do I think is sort of the most significant aspect of science that it communicates, it's the fact that science, the universe, nature is not only knowable, but how we have come to learn how it works has become a fundamental part, has been folded into our civilization, into how we live our lives. And the significance of that connection, I think people often take for granted. They say to themselves, I don't need science, I got this other thing that I'm doing. When science is all around us, and we confront major issues going forward in the 21st century about energy and health and security, and the solutions to those problems are derived from investments and innovations in science and technology. So for me, there might be some other answers here, but for me, Cosmos' biggest scientific message is that science is all around us, and science can be not only in your mind, but in your heart.
And you have a specialty. I mean, you're sort of a rock star scientist, and I think we all benefit from that because you have a specialty of making things understandable for the layperson. And I know that's one of the reasons why you're such an amazing participant in this project. And I know that's one of the reasons that you connected with Seth and why you thought Fox was a good home for it, which I think actually sort of ties into this. So why did you think it was important to have it be somewhere like Fox and National Geographic?
Well, first of all, it was Neil who introduced me to Seth, which I will be eternally grateful. And when Carl Sagan was alive and we were working together, we weren't trying to reach the people who read the New York Review of Books. We wanted to reach everyone because we believed that this knowledge is a birthright. It belongs to all of us.
You want to reach the Kardashians. That's who you
Everyone, every single person. And so when Seth proposed that we take Cosmos to Fox, which, for a moment it was a bit of a head snap. But then it was like, wow, that's brilliant. You really are a genius. That is brilliant because that's who we want to reach. And then when National Geographic joined with Fox to make this the largest rollout in the history of a television series, this was a great fulfillment of a dream, really. And I can't imagine a better place. I've got to tell you that Mitchell Kenold and I started out on this road 7 years ago. Went to the usual suspect networks that would probably want a science-based series. And it was really interesting to both of us that while everybody wanted Cosmos, they knew it was kind of a unique form of science-based entertainment, that they wanted to control it. They wanted to be able to edit out the uncomfortable parts. And I said no. And I am so glad I did because then Seth brought us to Fox and National Geographic. And in the 4 years that we've been working together, that has never once been an issue. And I'm so thrilled to have the freedom to make the Cosmos that we hope will be worthy of the original.
Fox specializes in discomfort.
Right.
Well, we've actually discussed the head snap was happening on both sides because there were many of us at Fox that were saying, Cosmos on Fox? No, how are we going to do that? Those of us who've had the pleasure of being a part of the project have been, absolutely impressed and overwhelmed along the way. And I think, Seth, I'm sure part of sort of your checklist of things were that the show would have to stand on its own as being entertaining, and the use of animation and the use of amazing visual effects. And I'm just wondering, from the beginning, did you sort of have any sort of guidelines along the way of science versus entertainment?
Well, I mean, the only guidelines that were self-imposed were the ones that applied to the original Cosmos. And one of my favorite quotes, I'm not going to remember this correctly, but I'll paraphrase from Carl when the original Cosmos came out, was that I want this to be interesting to people who have no pre-existing interest in science and are going to watch just for the spectacle. And that was what we wanted to preserve. The idea that this was certainly educational and inspiring, but that it would have a certain P.T. Barnum element as well, which the original Cosmos had in an immense way. I mean, it was particularly for 1980. It was an extraordinarily visually diverse array of images, and he worked on it. And here,
Did you really work on it?
I mean, the idea was I mean, there are two people who don't get recognized enough, and I'm going to indulge myself. They're probably here. Our animated sequences that were supervised by Caravallo. I don't know if she's here. And obviously our music by the brilliant Alan Silvestri, who is here somewhere. And it's like, these are folks who are instrumental in helping to make this feel like a Hollywood spectacle, which is really, there has to be some streak of that in this sort of production.
Yeah, and I have to butt in. You said science versus entertainment. I'm entertained by the universe every day I think about it. So what do you mean versus? When I think about falling into a black hole, that's hilarious. What happens to you, right? That is entertaining.
If it's on Family Guy.
No.
Really.
So the concept that it's one versus the other and you have to strike some balance, I think the universe, and by the way, we can use the term entertaining on many levels. Something could be entertaining because it's inspiring. It's reaching you on many dimensions. And so I never once was thinking we have to drop one to get the other. It's the merging of the two, which if you invest some thought into it, becomes a very natural marriage of those two ideas and those two places to go.
And certainly the teachers that you remember the most from your education are the ones who are the most entertaining and the ones who are able to communicate their own enthusiasm for the material. And Neil does that brilliantly. I mean, if you sit down to lunch with Neil, which I've had the pleasure of doing, you just find you're 5 years old again, and you're just asking him questions. And I want to know about this, and I want to know about this. And by the end of the lunch, you're like, "Are you Jesus?" And and you know, our hope is that this show will kind of have that effect. That like it's the world's greatest teacher that you remember for your whole life.
One of the lunches we had together, he's asking me 30 questions about the Big Bang. And I thought it was a little odd, but that's fine.
Right.
I could hook
And
him
in the
up.
meantime, you ate all my fries.
He always does that. He does that
And a few months later, there's a whole episode of Family Guy where Stewie and his time machine go back to the Big Bang. And at the end, it's like science consultant Neil deGrasse Tyson. I was like lunch buddy Neil deGrasse Tyson. What that was.
Look, we're just trying to legitimize ourselves, all right?
He expensed that lunch twice.
Joe, you asked,
Okay,
you asked about Seth's contribution and his humility. He certainly was respectful of what Carl and Ann and Steve Soder created in the original. But on the other hand, he so improved upon the model in some major significant ways. It was his thought to bring the ship of the imagination into every episode, which really provides the viewer, as they'll see in subsequent episodes, a real journey that's really spectacular throughout the entire series. And second, as in the original, there were actors, a lot of the Bruno sequence we just saw, in the stories that were told in the original series. And it was Seth's suggestion, instead, that they should be animators, led by Caravallo and the phenomenal group of his team, that really created a whole new way of storytelling, a new vocabulary for telling stories that we hope the audience will find really captivating. And so this man is the gift that keeps on giving. He brought Alan Silvestri to the group as well, and all of this. Brandon Braga and Jason Clark. And so what we started with, he has made so much bigger and
better.
made the dream exponentially greater.
Great.
Yeah.
Let's see. Okay. Now we're going to go to our first question off the stage. We are going to the American Museum of Natural History in New York City.
My name is Steve Carey from Rhinebeck, New York, representing the Mid-Hudson Astronomical Association. My question, Neil, is I read lately that Stephen Hawking is backing off on the black hole theory. What's your take on where he's going with it?
Yeah, every time Stephen Hawking utters anything, the press comes to me in the United States to comment on it. I feel like, Steve, can you give me like a 6-month break or something? So his idea is that a black hole, what we think of as the boundary between this universe and that one inside of a black hole, separated by the event horizon, beyond which no light escapes, he's rethinking that event horizon concept as this sort of turbulent roil, as I understand his paper, this turbulent roiling quantum surface. And if you're a quantum surface, then light can pop in and out of it. And so that a black hole would not really be black, it would be like gray. But it's still a thing you want to avoid. That's where I'm ending.
Well, we have a
the
whole
important
episode
takeaway.
about black holes.
Yeah.
So that could be a little bit of a problem if he's.
Well, paint some gray in it, I think. No,
Show it in the light room.
All right, now we're going to go to National Geographic Society's Grosvenor Auditorium in Washington, D.C.
Hi, Ann. Andres Almeida from Washington, D.C. 35 years ago, Cosmos: A Personal Voyage debuted, and it created a lasting impact on our culture. What do you hope the legacy will be of Cosmos: A Space Odyssey will be 35 years from now?
Thank you so much for that wonderful question, right in the sweet spot. I very much hope that the world will see Cosmos and appreciate the power of the scientific perspective. And in my wildest dreams, Cosmos awakens us from our stupor. We take the ideas in Cosmos, that the revelations of science, to our hearts and act accordingly to preserve and protect this tiny world. When you see the pale blue dot, when you can step back from the distance of Neptune and look at your home, it's a transforming experience. I know that people say that, science is one thing and spirituality is something else, or politics, or any of those other things. I believe that. But I also believe that you can't take in what science is telling us about global warming, about the fragility of our home, about the ancient continuity of which we are a part, without feeling some sense of responsibility to preserve it and to pass it on to the next generation. And if Cosmos were to inspire those feelings in enough people around the planet, then I can't imagine how gratifying that would be.
Okay, now we're going to move on to the James S. McDonnell Planetarium at the St. Louis Science Center.
Hi, my name's Matt, and this question's for Seth MacFarlane. Have you always been interested in science? And who are some of your favorite science heroes?
Yeah, I mean, I have always been interested in science. I remember seeing the original Cosmos as a child and as an adolescent and as an adult. I've seen it a number of times. And, gosh, my favorite scientists, got the Reverend Donald Wildman.
Great.
Sorry. Obviously, Carl Sagan, Neil deGrasse Tyson, of course. Richard Feynman is a guy who I enjoy reading very much.
Great one.
People who are able to, I don't know anything about mathematics. I was a terrible math student, and so people who are able to translate the language of quantum physics, the language of mathematics, into a form that I can process and appreciate and experience wonder over. Those are the teachers that I respond to, and one of the reasons we all love Neil so much is that he's a guy who has that gift. He's a guy who can take a mathematically complex premise and explain it to you in a way that is accessible and communicates his own enthusiasm, and eat all your fries in the process. Sorry, I shouldn't be holding that over your head. It happened once. And
they were good fries.
I think I've heard both Seth and Neil talk about inspiring young people, with the program, along those lines of sort of awakening in people and understanding that there are careers in these fields that they didn't know about.
All right, first of all, I don't think kids need any inspiration at all to have wonder about the natural world around them, or to discover. That's all they do. If you let them, all right? If you let them run loose in your yard, that's the end of your yard, but they would have been totally exploratory under the rock, the bark of the tree, the leaves, in your home. They'll break stuff, but these are experiments. And so I'm worried about scientifically illiterate adults. They run the world. They wield resources. They're in charge, and they outnumber the kids. So the kids will see Cosmos. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, we all knew. It's the adults. It's everybody, yes. But the issue in modern time is, do adults have the wisdom and insight brought to you by a scientific perspective to actually lead this world into the future? Because it doesn't matter what you do with the kids. The adults who are in charge don't have it. You are throwing seeds to fallow ground.
All right.
Don't get me started.
I think I did. Here's a question from Twitter. It comes from @KobeCobb. And this is an interesting one. Do you think time is slowing down? As in, is the universe really expanding faster, or has time slowed down since the Big Bang? I keep trying to figure out how to get more time in my day.
Easy question.
Okay, so these are very interesting questions, and there's a cottage industry in physics and astrophysics where we ask, are things the same between now and the past, or have they somehow changed to fool us into thinking that something has changed? It turns out what an atom does with the electron in the nucleus, when electrons change energy levels, when they spin, when they do these quantum things, we can measure exactly the same phenomena in atoms across the galaxy as we can here. And there's something called the fine structure constant. It is a constant of nature, hardly ever gets out to the public. But it is one of the greatest measures of the constancy of the universe, not only across space, but through the depths of time. So in fact, the constants of nature, as we have come to query them, and as they have come to respond to us, have been the same throughout space-time.
So that's a no.
Great answer.
No, yes. No.
Make sure.
Okay, sorry.
I'm like watching his lips. I think it's a no.
It's like, no, we're cool.
Okay, good. Excellent.
We got the expanding universe thing.
Okay, great. Let's go to London, see if we, this one I can handle. I can understand the question. Let's go to London. I think we're at we have a fan who's in front of the National Geographic Channel offices in London, England.
Hi, this is Danny from London. My question is, what is your favourite fact about the universe?
Let's start with Jason.
My favorite fact about the universe. Thank you for that.
Working on
Throw me the easy one.
Working on Cosmos must have exposed you to a lot of new facts.
You know, I've learned so much on this, and the one thing I've learned is that
just work the queen into that somehow, and you'll be fine.
This has been an adventure, and that science is not an experience of book learning. It's an adventure, and Cosmos has been this. You know, there's so many great stories that haven't been told that when you hear them are about our human experience, and they related to me on a very, emotional level. I was surprised all along the way on how much I was moved by the stories, whether they were past scientists or whether they're truths about this universe that we live in. So I don't have a favorite fact about the universe, but I can say that I have been exposed to something by the experience of working on Cosmos that I think has changed me and made me a deeper person. And I think they're great stories here, and I'm excited about.
And Brandon, you have such an impressive body of work dealing with science, science fiction. And this obviously is more science fact. Is there a favorite fact about the universe that comes to mind?
That is an impossible question to answer.
Thank you, Brandon.
I'm still mulling over the time travel answer. About favorite fact about the universe. My favorite new idea is the idea of the multiverse, which is touched upon briefly in episode 1. That there's maybe an alternate me that's happy out there. And
that's 500 visual effect shots from now.
But But the multiverse concept, which, Neil, is relatively new, is really cool. And I really hope, a commonly asked question I've been getting is, why Cosmos, why now? And I'm like, when is it not a good time for Cosmos? And I really hope another 30 years does not go by before there's another one.
I'd offer a little different spin on the fellow's question. What attracts me most to what we've been able to achieve here is the heroes, the stories we tell. I grew up in a generation where I had astronauts as heroes, and they were at the nexus of ambition and challenge and the forefront, the frontier, technology, engineering, and the power of men and women to do things beyond what they thought they could do. And yet our kids today don't have those kinds of heroes. They've got a few. They got Neil, and then they got the Kardashians. So our hope here is that in every episode, as you saw here with Bruno, in all the subsequent episodes, Anne and Brandon and the others involved in creating the stories that we tell about the heroes through the history of time that are important to give role models to our kids to see what was at risk and the fights that they had to take on, the stakes that they were up against, the wisdom that they had to confront, and that ultimately they helped to progress our civilization, and that these people may be inspiring and take our kids further in their own lives.
It's wonderful.
May I say my favorite fact about the universe? The thing that really keeps me up at night is that it was once this big. That's the thing that really, really fascinates me.
It's amazing. Seth?
It's kind of plays into your answer. The more I watch this first episode, which I've seen about 15 times now, is the more I kind of am struck by the fact that, particularly watching the cosmic calendar sequence, is that what seems like such a vast amount of time, the more I watch it, it starts to seem like a smaller and smaller amount of time, particularly presented in terms of the cosmic calendar. When you think about it, it just wasn't that long ago that the universe was what is it, infinitely small. And by the way, correct me at any point, because I have a degree in painting. But what's interesting to me about that is that we think of ourselves as, okay, here's evolution and then here's us at the end, but we're really not at the end. We're the guy holding the crude tool halfway up the line, and I wonder what will our descendants, how many billions of years from now, think of us, and will we be viewed as the Tiktaalik crawling out of the ooze?
Yeah.
So interesting.
Yes.
Neil?
Well, I'm actually online already, commenting on what I think is the most astonishing fact about the universe. It's the first YouTube video that ever went viral for me, but I didn't make the video. Some videographer with too much time on his hands converted an answer I gave to Time magazine into a video. So it relates to the fact that we are derived from stars, okay? And we displayed that in episode 1, but I'd like to add one to that. What we've come to learn over time is that the universe really doesn't make anything in ones. To think that Earth is special and alone, no, we're one of multiple planets. The sun, no, sun is one of billions of other suns. Our galaxy, not one of 100 billion galaxies. Our universe, maybe we're one in a multiverse. And if you follow this reasoning, perhaps the multiverse is just one of many.
You just blew my fucking mind. Wow.
We could be just in one multiverse.
You have a 7-second delay.
Among many multiverses. And our brain evolved off the Serengeti.
Nobody kill themselves right now, okay? Please.
So just got to stay open to that possibility. That's all I'm saying.
Okay, we're going to bring it down to earth. This is actually one that I saw when I was backstage that I thought was, I just thought was I knew we were going to be dealing with a lot of heady questions, and I thought it would be good to have one that was really about the scope of this specific production. I just saw this tweet. It was a guy called Just That Guy, and the question was, how many locations were visited, and how many people were involved in the production? Oh, I guess Dean Goodwin.
A zillion, but somebody has the accurate number.
So we've been shooting all over the world since last January. Approximately 7 days, dozens of countries. I think, more importantly, though, we visited places that were important for the stories that they told, that gave a spread throughout the world, because we want a worldwide audience, and that typified the kind of geography and geology that figures into the science that we tell. And in terms of people, nearly 1,000 people have worked on the series, 750 directly with our team here, and another 250 or so with a dozen special effects houses around the world. And as a fellow named Fred Friendly once wrote, television is the 1,000-pound pencil, meaning you got to really hold that thing really carefully with all the people who get to touch the product. And with 1,000 people involved, really the fact that we've come up with something that is, hopefully you'll find cohesive and engaging and impressive is Anne's focus here, to keep these 1,000 people along a singular vision for the show that we've created.
You can tell it's so impressive. You can tell it's a passion project for everyone who is working on it, and it's been the same also on the Fox and Nat Geo side as well. I think inspired by the work that you all have done has really led us, I think, to understand it in a new way and to try to make it be as successful as possible so many people around the world can see it as possible. Let's go to Detroit's Cranbrook Institute of Science. I think there's a question for Seth.
I'm Kyle McGrath. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. My question is for Seth MacFarlane. What was your vision for animating some of the sequences in the new series?
Well, this is really a question for Caravallo, but I will answer it as best I can. We wanted to strike a balance between animation-wise, between a look that was narrative-based, that was something that was accessible, but at the same time felt different from what you normally see in primetime animation, and that was a challenge. It couldn't be an art film, but at the same time it couldn't be Disney. So it had to be something that was very specific and very unique to this series. And Cara and her team really are the ones who deserve the credit for putting this together and for coming up with that style, because it really is a challenge. I mean, in the original Cosmos, it was all shot in live action. And those are great sequences. These historical scientific, the history of science. These sequences were compelling, but at the same time, you run into the problem that if you're shooting in live action, you have limitations with sets, with locations, with how much you can do. And in 2014, we thought, well, we have to expand it in some way for today's audience, and animation and the richness, the life that it is capable of bringing to these sequences seemed like the right way to go, and so it was a balance between the narrative and the artistic, and hopefully we've struck a Goldilocks zone.
What I like most about the animation is there's photorealistic texture mapping onto the surrounding scenes, the cobblestone or the walls of the banners, the sky, the trees, and so it gives it just a different feel. Like you said, it's not Disney and it's not something you otherwise.
We talked about with Cara bringing real physics into that, whether it's fire or any of those kind of things, and the way the light, and that seems to be something that makes it a little more accessible and feel like part of Cosmos.
One of my favorite moments of this episode is when Bruno is waiting to be executed, and he imagines that the cell walls fall away, and he floats one last time in his mind through the universe. I don't think you can do that effectively if it's not animated. Yeah. I don't think you would have done that with live action and had it look anything like it was like the Flying Nun or something. But that's I think really those magical moments could only have happened. For example.
And directorially, whether it's live, Neil, on location versus on green screen versus the visual effects that you knew were coming or the animation, was that a challenge to cover such a huge range in one program? Was it exciting?
Well, as Mitch mentioned, a lot of people worked on this show, and we shot for, just a correction, 70 days, not 7. Just to make the records.
For Mitch, it felt like 7 days. I got time.
But one of the great things about this Cosmos is it uses a wide range of visual. It has a large visual palette to bring Anne's scripts to life. That involved a lot of people doing different things, and thousands of visual effects shots. We could go to the Grand Canyon. We could go to Iceland. We can't go to the edge of the universe. So we had to create, obviously, a lot of this, and it looks pretty damn good.
And what I enjoyed most was, I don't do this all the time, and so in the Ship of the Imagination, where it's all green screen, obviously, but I'm conjuring where we're supposed to be in the universe at the time, and Bill Pope, our director of photography, he said, well, we're
and also series director.
So as we descend to the sun, and I can feel the sun because I know the sun and I know how hot it is, so I'm doing it. He said, no, Neil, you have to look a little more to the left on this one. so it was Bill Pope, who directed the Matrix trilogy, knows to do interesting things with the camera. And one of the great joys of this project was knowing that the camera and what the camera is doing for us is itself a character, a participant in the storytelling. And you only get that when you tap the talents of people who have previously used this formidable experience for first-run films. Previously using this to tell the stories of dramas, now we tell the story of the universe. And I felt privileged just to be around people who have had that depth of experience.
Yeah, and there are more than 1,500 VFX shots in Cosmos. And in the beginning, various VFX supervisors were telling us, it's impossible, you should quit now, you can't do this. You remember? They were saying it was possible, and we were lucky enough to get Rainer Gambos to be our supervisor. And we had sat, day after day looking at the glorious, beautiful ways in which Rainer and his team and the vendors have been able to simulate the glory of nature. And it's just a thrill. And to have all of these different crayons to draw the picture of Cosmos with, to have the animation, the VFX, Neil's brilliant performance, his great personality, all of these elements. I do.
Okay,
Well, it's all state of the art. I mean, it really is all exceptional, and I do think that the mixing of the different types of media is what also propels sort of an energy through it while you're watching it, because you just keep moving. And Neil takes us in, and having been lucky enough to see some of the animation when it was rougher, it is now, you cannot tell the difference between the live nature photography and what you have created on a micro level. And I think that really, for the viewer, is going to keep them moving right through the episodes, which is, so entertaining and exciting. Okay, let's go to, internationally, we're going to travel to Singapore, to the Art Science Museum at the Marina Bay Sands in Singapore. I think this is for Neil.
Hi, my name is Fan, and my question for Dr. Tyson would be, you filmed Cosmos around the globe. Which was your favorite city and why?
Great question. So my favorite location, just because it was mind-blowing to me, was Iceland. First, the country is misnamed. It should be called Volcano Land, okay? Because it's like Iceland was made yesterday, all right? There's steam, right? Gurgling soils and places where plant life has yet to recover, and it's just volcanic, and so every place, it was like Earth before life. We had that shot, okay? Another planet that just got slammed and is still up, we had that shot. You know, it was a stand-in for so many exotic places in the solar system, and I just had no idea that such a place existed on this planet. And it's right there in Iceland, and with the hosts were delightful, and they were friendly, and we had a little bit of midnight sun going on there, so at the end of the day, people partied into the night, and it was just a very friendly, otherworldly country on our own world.
Excellent, excellent. You're getting applause.
Yeah, that's
Iceland. That's amazing. Okay, we're going to go to Twitter, and I guess, let's see, first of all, they're saying, looking forward to seeing your new series. It's from @idea2go. And it's a tweet, so it's a little bit truncated. Sagan's intro mentions atoms as massive as stars. Is it true? Can you explain? I believe Mr. Sagan actually said atoms as massive as suns, but the tweet is, are there atoms as massive as stars? Is it true?
Well, no, I thought I said that, actually.
Oh.
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't matter.
It's a double correction.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, in the universe, in our lives, we have such a limited range of cosmic life experience. The temperature range in which we experience and live, the range of density, the range of, just think about how restricted our lives are compared to what is possible to experience in the universe. From the temperatures at the center of the sun, to the densities and temperatures at the beginning of the universe, to the density at the singularity in the center of a black hole. So when we talk about atoms as dense as massive as suns, there was a point where you had the mass of a sun in the volume of an atom. We had the mass of the universe in the volume of an atom. And it's like I said, this stuff sounds crazy, but our senses are not useful to decode phenomena in the universe that did not arise in the life experience of our species. Our biological senses are good for knowing when you're about to be eaten by a tiger, all right? You run, it's this big, but we don't see bacteria. So we are susceptible to disease in ways that you are less susceptible to tigers. And so just think about that. And we don't always look up, and that's where the asteroid comes from. So yes, the universe is full of extraordinary extremes of what our senses can only imagine, or what our brilliant visualizers can help our senses capture.
So that's a yes. Okay, we're going to go to Chicago's Adler Planetarium, my hometown. I think we have one for Seth here, and it's a very interesting question.
Hi, my name is Jake McCrisky. I'm downtown Chicago at the Adler Planetarium. This question is for Seth MacFarlane. How did you meet Ann Druyan, and how long have you been collaborating with her on the Cosmos project?
You touched on it a little bit earlier, but
yeah, Ann and I fought in Korea together.
She won.
She won. Yeah. No, I met Ann through Neil, actually. I had lunch with Neil in New York, and this was how I found out that Cosmos was being updated and rebooted. And I was very, very excited to meet Ann because I had read her work and Carl's work throughout my entire life. And I remember being at that was it Crustacean, that restaurant in Beverly Hills. Right. And it was so damn loud, and I was so angry at everybody because I couldn't hear what Ann was saying because the whole place was so damn loud. I was just hanging. Yes, yeah, I was. That's what I do. I nod like I know what's going on. And it was truly one of the greatest thrills of my life to meet Ann, because I'd been an admirer for years and years. and that was, that was the confirmation of my involvement in this project. And
how long ago?
And 4 years ago.
Oh, was it 4 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's gone really quickly.
Wow.
And the amazing thing was, we were in Hollywood, and Seth was making all these promises, and they were extremely extravagant. And I had been warned about this, and he kept every one of them. And
Okay, here is a question from Facebook fan Darren Matisco. It's for the whole panel. If given the chance to leave Earth for another world that has intelligent life on it, but you could never return or communicate with Earth again, would you go?
I won't even drive to Culver City.
Another world with intelligent life, but you can never return or communicate with Earth, would you go?
I'd have to know a little more about where I'm going.
That's all you know. There's intelligent life there.
It sounds like a no.
I'd love my existence here. I don't know that I would change it.
Is it just beer and wine, or is there like?
Yeah. Will there be meals served on the flight?
Is there anyone who would go? Or would everyone choose to stay on Earth? You'd go?
I'd take the gamble.
There
we go.
Are you that unhappy?
Yeah. We need to find us other Brandon immediately.
Anywhere but here. Anywhere.
All right, let's go then to San Francisco at the Morrison Planetarium at the California Academy of Sciences. I think it's another question for Neil.
Hi, my name is Annie from San Francisco, and my question for Dr. Tyson is, what are some of your hobbies outside of science?
Oh, hobbies. Though I had very little occasion to do so the last year that we've been filming, I love playing with my kids as I can, and going on play dates with my wife. We go to theater often, musical theater if available. They don't rotate as quickly as dramatic theater does. I like reading antiquarian science books, which puts any modern thought in a context of how much of it you should treat skeptically or with confidence when you see people speaking with confidence hundreds of years ago about things you would later learn to be completely wrong.
You're a pretty skilled dancer.
Yeah,
though,
but
too,
with
are
the
you
Latin
not?
ballroom
Wait. I am distinguishing what are current hobbies from stuff I used to do. That's all I'm saying.
And you were also a pretty damn good wrestler, right?
In my day.
What about that dancing video that's on YouTube?
You also know more than anyone in the world about wine.
I like wine. Yeah. I like drinking wine that's slightly more expensive than it should be.
And you created Two Broke Girls, I think, did you?
No, I like tasting a wine and honoring the wine-making efforts of the grape growers and the vinifiers. Wine has been with us forever. One of my favorite quotes from Galileo is, I will get it wrong, but the sense of it is right.
Do you want any of that?
Oh, thank you. Galileo said that the sun can hold all the planets in their appointed orbits without fail, yet manage to ripen a bunch of grapes as though it had nothing else in the world to do.
That's beautiful.
Galileo.
There you go. Okay, this is exciting. We're going to go to Orlando's Kennedy Space Center for a question, I think, for Anne.
Hi, I'm Chris. I'm at the Kennedy Space Center. Do you think humans inhabited Mars and then came to Earth when Mars became uninhabitable?
No.
What does he do at Kennedy Space Center?
I think he was listening to Galileo and maybe having some wine.
No, but there's,
Well, as long as
there's
he's
something.
drinking.
I think what he might be thinking is of the Martian micrometeorites, and there might be some. He's not completely. I mean, I don't think humans, migrated from Mars. Not at all. But the possibility that early life came from elsewhere in the solar system in its most inchoate state is a totally
As we even say in the show,
a possibility.
It's the thing we don't still yet know.
Yeah, we learned that when an asteroid strikes, we learned that when an asteroid strikes, it can send a sort of reverse shockwave back up and cast rocks into space.
Right.
Rocks that can have life as stowaways in the nooks and crannies. And here's the part where you cue the Twilight Zone music. We have life on Earth. By the way, space is dry, cold, and radiation intensive. We have life forms on Earth that are resistant to radiation on a scale that Earth does not need you to be resistant to. We have life forms on Earth that survive extreme conditions that they don't have to survive. Why do they have these properties? And it has been suggested that life on Earth may have germinated on Mars, gotten thrust across space through interplanetary space, landed on Earth, seeding life on Earth with life forms that include those that are radiation resistant, as well as life that you can freeze dry, reliquefy, and have them come back to life.
That's amazing.
So it is not a completely crazy idea that life on Earth came here from Mars, making all of us descendants of Martians, if you want to think about it that way. And one last point about one last point about that. If
you have everybody, keep going.
No.
Now you forgot your last one. That's what happens.
I'll come back to it. Go on.
No. We're I'm like, I don't care. Keep going.
All right. So what's interesting is what we don't know on Earth is whether there were two genocide on Earth. Because all life on Earth that we have tested has common DNA, which points to a common origin. If we go to Mars and find evidence of life, either there now or past life, and it has DNA, we test the DNA, and we might be able to find the earliest branch point of biology on Earth, starting on Mars. Now, if we find life and it has no DNA, that's more interesting because it meant its identity was encoded in a way that had nothing to do with anything we understand life to be. And that would be cool. But now, one last thing. Ready? Okay, watch this. Ready? Okay, so if rocks can hit and thrust other rocks into space, which they do, and they land on other planets, we know the surface of the moon has been pristine. Yes, it gets slammed, but nothing gets eroded. There's no weather, there's no earthquake, moonquakes, nothing. If you land there, you are there. It has been suggested that maybe the impact that took out the dinosaurs 65 million years ago cast Earth rocks into space that landed on the moon. And if you search the moon for rocks from Earth, they may contain fossil evidence that goes all the way back to the beginning of life on Earth, getting us evidence of life farther back in time than we could possibly recover from Earth itself.
Incredible. I was able to follow all of that, and I'm very, very pleased. I do want to make sure before we run out of time, though, that we take a question from Los Angeles. So I think we do have someone here. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Dawn, and I'm from Orlando.
Good name to have, Dawn.
All
Beautiful
right.
name.
Thank you very much.
No one's named Dusk.
No.
I don't know why.
I've never met one. If I could pick up 500 pounds here on Earth, how much could I pick up on Mars?
Ooh,
It's a math question.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. So, but if you can pick up 5 pounds here on Earth, you belong in the Olympics. Okay. Let's start there. Okay. Mars has 38% of Earth's gravity. So 500 pounds would be 38% of what you could pick up. So if I do the math on that, it would be something like 1,200 pounds, 1,300 pounds, around there. And so you'd be even more awesome there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Don.
good.
Joe, if I can, just before we run out of time.
You have a different answer?
No, I want to. Neil,
I know. It sounded like.
Neil gets this stuff from me.
Yeah.
And before we run out of time, we wanted to thank a couple of constituencies in particular. It was Ann's and my notion that we include all the planetaria around the world that are joining us today and the affiliates internationally, because it was important to us to really give you all a preview of this series. And we appreciate that you've all embraced this and that it's been supported by our sponsors. And second of all, as one of the senior executives told us at the outset at Fox, when Fox and National Geographic get behind you, watch out. They really have. Across the board, there are many champions here, including Peter Rice and Kevin Riley and David Lyle and Howard Owens and Alan Butler and many, many others who have paved the way for us that Seth began, and we're in their gratitude forever for the kind of opportunity they've given to Ann and all of us to produce this series of our dreams.
I'd like to add, that's excellent. I'd like to add that for urban residents, for so many of us, as I was, our first encounter with the night sky is your city's planetarium. And so it's just, I feel very warmed knowing that we have some of the major planetariums out there joining us. People in Chicago and Los Angeles and New York, St. Louis, places where that's your ticket to the universe. And so I just want to just give a shout out to the planetariums out there. Of course, I represent the Hayden in New York, but basically it's not many other sciences do you have those kinds of conduits to the frontier.
You'll also be very happy to know that every one of our theaters was sold out tonight. We had people in New York in 20-degree weather waiting for several hours.
It's not that, 20 degrees is not really.
Cold in New York.
Well, it rained here the other day. So, you know. Did you have
Yeah, and I
closing
just
thoughts?
wanted to say that, the original Cosmos series was written by Carl Sagan and Steven Soter and me. And when I began wanting to do another Cosmos, I turned first to Steve Soter, and we wrote the original drafts of most of the episodes together. Unfortunately, he had to depart a couple of years ago, but I treasure those endless 7-day weeks with him, just imagining what the new Cosmos could be.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us across the country and around the world. Unfortunately, that is all the time that we have.
Oh, one more shout out, real quick.
One more.
We're about to retire to the Griffith Observatory and Planetarium. I just want to give a shout out to Ed Krupp, who is going to let us run all over his place this evening. And so just, again, it's the group participation trying to make this work for us all. So Ed Krupp, thanks for giving us run of your house.
There's already been drinking, so Ed's getting a little bit. But just a reminder that Cosmos: A Space-Time Odyssey premieres this Sunday. I cannot believe it. What an amazing journey. And it's coming this Sunday, March 9th at 9/8 Central, simultaneously on 10 Fox Networks Group channels in the US, including Fox and the National Geographic Channel. And the series will also air around the world on 220 channels in 181 countries with an overall footprint of more than 500 million homes.
Say billion.
Billion.
And if I can, I just want to shout out to everybody who's worked on this show so tirelessly, certainly over the last 15 months. And I know we have a little more time to go, and I want to thank everybody. We've had incredible artists inspired by the original Cosmos, by Ann's words, by the dedication of this team here and the countless other people who put all those hours into it. Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us online, everyone here in Los Angeles, and to those who submitted questions from all over the world. A big, big thank you to our sponsors, Samsung Galaxy and Chrysler Brand, for making it all possible and for their support of Cosmos. Finally, please help me thank our amazing panelists for being with us tonight. Thanks, everyone. Good night. Thank you, sir. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Okay, big life moment here. Little Jack's finally ditching the training wheels and hopping on a big boy bike. Wait a second. This is the ride of his life. We can do better than an 8-megapixel picture. That's what I'm talking about. A full HD 13-megapixel camera with drama shot. Attaboy, Jack. This ride just got 4 times sweeter. I think we know which one of these photos is going to Grampy and Nana. The full HD 13-megapixel Galaxy S4 with drama shot.
Is there anything more American than America? Because you can't import original. You can't fake true cool. You can't duplicate legacy. Because what Detroit created was a first and became an inspiration to the rest of the world. Yeah, Detroit made cars and cars made America. Making the best, making the finest takes conviction. And you can't import the heart and soul of every man and woman working on the line. You can search the world over for the finer things, but you won't find a match for the American road and the creatures that live on it. Because we believe in the zoom and the roar and the thrust. And when it's made here, it's made with the one thing you can't import from anywhere else. American pride. So let Germany brew your beer. Let Switzerland make your watch. Let Asia assemble your phone. We will build your car. Things will change. Things will change.